a compere to introduce our next speaker. I was going through details of his personality a while ago. He makes sure that his end products are of the best quality. And ladies and gentlemen, as was mentioned by the Honorable Minister, the name innovators comes from people being innovative, innovation. And as mentioned, he's an innovator. So without further ado, I have the pleasure of inviting Dr. Rohan Pallewatta, the chairman of Lanka Harness Private Limited. Everybody, a round of applause.
Members of the head table, graduates, other academics, and the parents and relatives of the people who are graduating today. I was happy when I came here to see that University of Bolton is one of your partners of your campus. Because my doctorate is from the University of Bolton. In fact, I'm wearing the academic cloak of Bolton, not completely. I didn't wear the academic hood, and there's another collar that you have to wear. Because of the heat that was outside, I opted not to wear that. But anyway, this is the academic cloak of the University of Bolton. And my field of study, my research, was on acculturation. Now, that word might not be a very popular word, and many people may not understand the meaning of acculturation. Acculturation means introducing an alien culture to an indigenous culture. So my research was whether it is possible. And it was a qualitative study, and the final answer, final conclusion was that it was possible. So this acculturation, for example, now in my company at Biyagama, Lanka Harness Private Limited, there are over 1,000 employees. And these people are manufacturing a product, as it was told, called the airbag impact sensor. And the quality requirement of this particular product is called 1 ppm quality, right? Which means only a single defect would be tolerated for 1 million produced. And that is the highest level of quality anywhere in the world. There is no quality beyond that. So that has been achieved. Not only that it has been achieved, but I have been in this business for the past 20 years, and which means we have managed to sustain that quality. So I'm supplying all the brands in the world. In Japan, you name it, Toyota, Honda, Mitsubishi, Mazda. And in Europe, Volvo, Saab, BMW, Aston Martin, Opel, Volkswagen. Then in USA, General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler. So almost all the brands, big brands, are under my belt. So but remember, it took me 15 years for me to get my first order, to convince Toyota. But when the company is decided, because as you know, a vehicle comes into being by about 17,000 components coming together if it is a standard vehicle. And if it is a luxury vehicle, twice as that. That is about 34,000 components come together and make a vehicle. But there are, of course, these automobile companies. They outsource these components to other countries. But there are certain components that are called the critical components. And these critical components are not given to other countries to manufacture, because the function of these particular critical components are so bonded with their brand name that they don't want to take a risk. So the product that I'm doing right here in Sri Lanka at the moment is a critical product. So that is the breakthrough. So because as you know, if there is an accident of a vehicle, the airbag must come out. It cannot fail. It's life and death, right? So I'm proudly stating that when these companies decided to impart with this product to Sri Lanka, what were they entrusting on us? They were entrusting the lives of their customers. They were entrusting the lives of their customers. And we make around 80 million to 100 million US dollars every year. For a country like Sri Lanka, it is a lot of foreign revenue. But I was in my comfort zone when I started my doctoral studies. So my message to you this evening is that the people who have got their diplomas today, or got their first degree, got their masters, for them to engage in a pursuit of higher education. Because if I can do with all my work, I think most of you can. It is just a matter that you have a will in your mind. Will in your mind to continue with your education. Because however successful I became, however fat my bank accounts were getting, I did not want to deviate from education. So that is why I opted to do my doctorate. My master's is from Sri Javadhanapura University. And also I have to tell you one thing. First I started as an attorney at law, then master's at PIM, then doctorate at Bolton. So when I started my business, none of the qualifications that I had any relevance to my business. So the message that I want to inculcate in your mind, don't become a slave to your qualification. Because in Sri Lanka, when you become an attorney at law, your mindset is that you should wear a cloak and go to courts. When you become an accountant, you think your whole life is going to be that you are going to be an accountant. But if you have that limitations, if your qualification becomes a limitation, you may lose all other opportunities that are in the periphery. Because when I took oaths as an attorney at law, had I thought this is my whole life, I wouldn't have recognized the opportunity of this business. So remember, your academic qualifications that you obtain today should be enhancing your career and not limiting your career. And as I said, the acculturation, subject of acculturation, which I did for my study, actually my question was, can acculturation be used as a management tool? Right? Because I have about 1,000 employees, as I said. So I was trying to introduce the Japanese culture to my employees. And if you ever have the time to visit my company, you will see that the Sri Lankan employees are behaving like the Japanese in my company. So it is possible, of course there are certain conditions, it is possible to acculture them. And this has value to other companies because of acculturation, my organization has something called the trust culture. We trust each other. We don't have CCTV cameras fixed around for me to monitor. When they build up my factory, they wanted to know whether they could fix CCTV cameras and have monitors around me. I disagreed. Because I believe the moment you fix a camera behind a human being, you're encroaching their human dignity. Because they should be working for the reason that they take pride in what they do, not because they're being supervised. So it worked for me. So now there are so many companies that come on academic studies, case studies for my company. And it has relevance by doing that, because now in my company I don't have what is called a supervisory grade. I don't want anyone to supervise another's work. So by that, you are eliminating unnecessary layers of your company. What happens when you eliminate unnecessary layers is that you become internationally competitive. So when this is adopted by other companies of Sri Lanka, it is helping them also to become internationally competitive. So the research that I have done is relevant, and it is turning into hard currency. So likewise, when you embark on research in future, ensure not only of the academic interest, but that it has some value which can be turned into hard currency. Don't do it for the sake of, just because you want to have the latest PhD at the end of your name. When you have that kind of passion, the doctorate will come your way anyway. So as Schumpeter said, the economist Schumpeter said, and as the minister said, for a country to progress economically, there should be innovators. And then there should be entrepreneurs who take those innovations and market to the world. In order to have innovators, we need good institutes of education. And we need quality education. So therefore, I believe that you would contribute to innovate something. Because Schumpeter also says that an economy going smoothly on a route, on a cycle, will not grow. Says that cycle must be disrupted. Now remember, now we are all talking about electric cars. The biggest electric car manufacturer in India is not Tata, it's not Mahindra, but it's a small company startup from Bangalore. So because now, as I said, a conventional internal combustion engine vehicle has about 17,000 to 34,000 moving components. But electric car, it's about 17. So entire game has changed. So innovation can change the game for us. Because now people were talking about automobile policy for Sri Lanka. I said, don't ever think about it. Because these countries, over decades and decades, they have matured. And we can't even think of producing at that cost. But when it comes to electric vehicles, yeah, there's a wave. We may be able to get there. And also, I would invite you, because I do it myself, to spend some time with you every day. Just with you. Keep your mobiles away. If your mobile is with you, you're not going to spend that time with you. You will be interacting with someone. Because it is only then that you get to reflect. But in today's society, what we do is mostly we react. We react to things. We don't reflect. We don't have the time to reflect. So consciously, make sure that you make time to think. Make time to spend some time with yourself, which I do every day, as I said. Then with maturity, maybe you may be able to reach what is called wisdom. I will tell two small stories before I end my speech to explain, because the difference between knowledge and wisdom. Indira Gandhi got married to Feroz Gandhi. Of course, she was Indira Nehru. She became Gandhi by getting married to Feroz Gandhi. And in her autobiography, she writes, Feroz Gandhi is the most unfaithful husband a woman could ever have. And she says that his unfaithfulness was so severe that when she was pregnant with Feroz's children, he was entertaining other women in the very house that she was living. And she says there cannot be a greater betrayal than that by a husband. But in a subsequent chapter, she writes, when I was returning from a political meeting in Chandigarh, I received a message that Feroz is no more, because Feroz Gandhi did not live to see the light of day beyond 48 years of his life. And Indira goes to write, when I received the news that Feroz is no more, I was broken into pieces. For the rest of my life, I could not put those pieces together. As I said in an earlier chapter, she writes, the most unfaithful husband. But later she writes, when I heard the news that he is no more, I was broken to pieces. That is number one. Number two, Barack Obama, when he was appointed president of USA, he travels to Kenya. And he wants to find out from the grandmother about his father. Because Barack Obama's father left him when he was just 1 week. So he has no recollection. So he wants to find from the grandmother as to whereabouts of the father. And she says, he is no more. And I can show you where he was laid to rest. And grandmother takes Barack Obama, and there's a concrete slab. And Barack Obama kneels down. This also he writes in his autobiography. And I spent 2 hours at the grave of my father. Even when I became president of USA, I felt there was something missing. There was some missing connection to the world. But for the first time at the grave of my father, I felt that I've been completely connected to this world. So he's writing about a father who did not do his father's duties, who left him when he was just 7 days. Why? So it is, as I said, only the wisdom that comes with maturity will answer these 2 questions. So strive, because that is why the Columbia University, their motto is not knowledge enlightens, but wisdom enlightens. Prajnava alokeve. So as I said at the beginning, in conclusion, I have to say, nothing would come easy in life. Because in order to get the first order, it took me 15 years to convince Toyota, and it took me 46 visits to Toyota, Japan. And even on the 45th occasion, I did not know. Even on the 46th occasion, I did not know that they were going to say yes. But I persisted. But remember, in life, perseverance, because there's not going to be results overnight. Don't expect results overnight. And success is a journey. And journey with a lot of hiccups. There will be a lot of ups and downs. There is no straight line to success, remember that. The best metaphor is an ECG. When there are ups and downs, which means you are very much alive. When there is a straight line, that means you are no more. Thank you very much for inviting me today.
Doctor, I was so engrossed listening to your address. I have been comparing graduations for the last 3 decades. And, this has been the most impressive address I've ever heard. I think we need to put our hands together. Share his words of wisdom, all his thoughts, and extremely practical, I think. It's going to help all you graduates, because it's not only theoretical, you may agree, Doctor, it's all to do with practice as well. Thank you very much.